All right. It says I'm live. So, of course, we got to do the old checkup. Make sure that's legit because it probably isn't. There's probably going to be two and a half people here tonight because I don't know, man. Sometimes I wonder if, you know how everybody talks about being shadow banned and all that other great stuff. Sometimes I wonder if that's legit or not. Obviously, my channel isn't that big to like, why would they want to shadow ban my channel? But I also think that, you know, I think it does happen. So let's see. So we'll see. We'll see if anybody's here. It says I'm live. I have no idea. So let me check and see. There might not be anybody here. Let's see. Let me go to my YouTube channel. Do, 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 do. All right, let's see. View my channel. Oh, all right. I am live. Sweet. All right. So it looks like Rap leaving way too many comments to be a lot of fun there. So here we go. All right, looks like 5 of you watching. So as you guys trickle in over the next few, just say hello. Drop a nice little hi, and I'll say hello back to you. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the stuff that's been kind of transpiring for, gosh, probably what 3 weeks now, about 18 to 20 days. Obviously, the disaster that South Carolina became, also, of course, North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, parts of Appalachia. Um, so I think you can definitely know that there's still things going on. Hello, Armsman. How are you, sir? Rabbi, I don't know if you're still here. You left about 77 comments in a matter of a minute and a half. So, but obviously tonight we want to talk a little bit about what's been going on. So I'm hoping that there are some people who are in the within that area so that they can try to, hopefully give us a little bit of insight. Obviously I can only give you what I know by what I've seen, what I've read, things like that. People I know down there. Kind of also talk a little bit about the failures that I've seen and just some of the perplexing things that have been going on, right? Like there's so many things right now that don't make any sense to me. And just a little background on myself. At one point, I was an actual first responder in another life, and it was the best job I ever had in my life. And we did a lot of great things, and I learned a tremendous amount of stuff. And part of that was learning, disaster control, and also kind of how to react and respond in these types of situations. And the first thing I would say is that when you look at the situation that happened in Tennessee and especially North Carolina, and let's not forget South Carolina did get some damage there as well. But if you were to compare those areas versus the state of Florida, where I used to work, and then you begin to see just the difference between the two areas, you definitely can see when it's done right versus when it's not done at all in some aspects. Now, obviously, we can do Monday morning quarterbacking, and I could tell you all, oh yeah, this sounds great. Now that they're getting FEMA in there and all these other things. However, one of the things that I would say is that you're still hearing things that aren't happening. And I would say the first question I would have is, where did all this kind of go wrong? Why was this not better received by state and local officials? I mean, we could talk about the federal government all we want, but whenever there's a state of emergency, it's up to the state to then use its assets and resources to be put in the appropriate areas. And obviously, we can debate again whether or not North Carolina had did North Carolina have enough insight as to where this storm was going to come from? And some people would say no, right? I mean, who expected it to kind of do that little wobble and this just devastate, that part of North Carolina, like Asheville and I can't remember some of the other names, Scott, darn it. I was just talking about just yesterday, actually, but like Boone, North Carolina. So obviously, when you look at those areas and you're starting to kind of try to figure out like what happened, some people might say, well, they didn't expect it. Hello, Trexter, may live long and prosper, sir. But what I would also say is, shouldn't have someone had enough common sense to say, well, we don't need to have a full plan at this point. Like we don't need to have thousands of linesmen lined up for loss of power. Hello, Rabbi. We don't necessarily have to have, all of these resources that are available because we're not certain it's going to hit us. But wouldn't it have been something if maybe somebody in our government, and again, this is kind of ironic because we know government is probably the most unproactive thing in the world. But wouldn't it have been nice for someone to have been a slightly proactive to say, hey, you know what? This storm is coming. It may not hit us directly, but we're definitely going to feel some of the effects of it. And I would say that most people at that point realized when it as soon as it hit the Gulf Coast, and then made its way into the Big Bend area, and then obviously you have the Panhandle of Florida and all that other areas of Florida there. Obviously, once it gets into more mountainous terrain, it kind of shears the wind a little bit. So maybe not necessarily prepare for all of the wind damage, but certainly prepare for some of the water damage. I mean, there was a lot of rain that was coming from this storm. And it just seems like there was really no forethought into that, right? Like there was no proactivity on the government side. It was more or less just like, it's not going to hit us. Who cares? And then obviously you fast forward and you see the devastation that it's led to, and just the whether it's property or the loss of life, man. I think it's a tragedy all around. I mean, houses can be rebuilt, roads can be repaved, but the amount of death that occurred just because of being unprepared is startling, very startling. Rabbi is saying, well, consider from the perspective of their employees. Those are humans. Do you want humans driving into these conditions or staging up in safe locations? Right. And I agree with that. First off, when the wind hits about 55, 60 mile per hour sustained winds, you're not sending any crews out anyway. The trucks will actually turn over. But you should be having them staged somewhere that's a little bit safer, somewhere that may not be in the direct line of the storm. So, to me, it's, do you want to send employees in? But you also have to realize, Rabbi, that when you sign up for that job, you're expected to do it. You're expected to go into the places where nobody wants to go into at those times. And I just don't think that there was anybody who thought that this was going to happen. And it just seems very odd to me. Rabbi saying there's nothing in the Bill of Rights about FEMA saving me from a flooded house. You're absolutely right. And that's why I said in the beginning of this, nobody, everybody's blaming the federal government. But what I'm sitting here saying is that there is absolutely a lax attitude from the state and local resources. Those things should have been lined up. Those things should have been put on alert. There should have been something put out there. And again, I might not know all the details, but just from what I saw on the videos and people telling me, there were no resources staged. There was nothing ready to go. And I just find that very odd. I really do. I find that very, very odd that did not happen. Obviously not to the extent of, let's say, what DeSantis did in Florida for the second storm, but at least put something out there, be a little proactive, knowing that something is going to happen, right? And even if it wasn't directly at you, having those resources available for the surrounding areas after the storm subsides, you're going to be called in. You're going to be called in for mutual aid, and not having those crews available just made no sense at all. Trexer saying, my issue was we heard countless accounts of people being turned away, but not even one scrap of video showing that. And, that's kind of interesting too. I know in the initial days, there was a lot of people out there who were saying that, goods were being confiscated. I've talked to a couple of people and they were saying that it definitely happened, but I'd also, like, one of the things that I thought was a little bit premature, I guess, was a lot of the YouTubers out there. And again, I'm not knocking anybody. Some of them did some great shit. They brought supplies to people and they did a lot of great things, more than I did. That's for sure. But one of the things that I didn't necessarily agree with was right away saying that, local authorities were confiscating things. And, I kind of watched it and I was pissed off initially, but then I started thinking about things in my head about, if I was still working in that, profession and, we had a situation like that, what would we do? What would we want to do? And I think one of the biggest things that people don't necessarily take into account is just having really a centralized structured command structure, right? So basically what that means is that you want to have all the resources at a dedicated site so that you can manage those resources efficiently and effectively. And that's something about the command structure that, is sometimes it doesn't make sense to people who aren't involved in that. But some of the people who were saying that this was going on, I was very shocked at, because they've either been in the military or in law enforcement. They should absolutely know how that works. And that's what I was kind of a little put off by, the fact that they were accusing people of doing things. But at the same time, one of the things that people also don't realize is when you're in a state of emergency, the last thing those people want is you out on the road. I mean, it's just, That's just the reality. And it's not because they don't want the resources or the goods and the supplies. It's just that they don't want another problem that they have to deal with if something happens to you. And I think sometimes that gets lost in translation at times. And I think that's, that's where I didn't like that coverage of it. Now, are there still areas, excuse me, are there still areas that have not received full aid? Yes, there are. A lot of those areas that are very rural, a lot of those roads are washed away, bridges are gone, communities are gone, people are gone. Unfortunately, what's happening is that, there's still a very lag response. And, like I said, we can blame the federal government, and they absolutely are to blame because, again, there's no forethought. You knew that something was going to happen, but to not have those supplies at the ready, it makes no sense to me. But you can't take a blind eye to the governor of North Carolina either. And that's one of the things that I think is so irritating because they want to blame FEMA, they want to blame Kamala and Joe, and believe me, so do I. But I also think you got to blame that governor, and you've got to blame a lot of the local authorities who didn't really step up to the plate. And it's amazing because even in the worst conditions and in the worst times, there's so many people out there right now that want to bash the country, whether it's politically or socially or whatever it might be. But then you have a situation like this. And at the end of the day, the people who were actually there digging people out, saving people and helping them and feeding them and keeping them warm initially in these stages were the American people. It wasn't the government. And that's something that needs to be said. And that's something that should be said, that it was the average person who came to the rescue of other average people, because that's something that's been lost in the conversation also. What also I would say to you is that, and again, this boggles my mind, right? You have a major disaster, right? You have people with no running water, no electricity. And yet, you don't, as far as I know, you don't see the Army Corps of Engineers out there trying to rebuild roadways and bridges. If I'm mistaken, let me know. But I have not heard about that. No one that I have spoken to has seen anything like that. You also have Fort Bragg, which is, I don't, is it Fort Bragg? Yeah, Fort Bragg, which is, I guess, not called, is it Fort Bragg? I can't remember. You guys tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. But, you had no National Guard called up immediately. Somebody had mentioned, why not call out the 82nd Airborne to help push out supplies? I mean, so there's all these resources that could have been made available that no one did shit on. And that blows my mind, right? That just goes to show you how, how unfunctional our government really is. And I think that's the problem I'm having with this whole scenario. And so I'll read some of the comments here. So Trexter is saying Mr. Beast sent energy drinks he couldn't sell because of PFAS level 3 times higher than legal limits. Why isn't that a news story? Well, because Mr. Beast is a pop culture icon, right? So what if his partner molests children? He's still a pop culture icon, and God forbid we smash, the hammer on those types of people. Rabbi saying also consider these people may not have wanted help. They live in no man's land for a reason. Yeah. And there is truth to that, right? There are a lot of people who are living in those areas. I won't say a lot, but there are some people living in those areas who are very self-sufficient, right? And they want to be kept that way. But I also think when you're starving, you're going to want to take help from anybody. When you're freezing, you're going to want a blanket from who cares who. So yeah, I agree with that in part. But I also know that, when people really need something, they're going to ask for that to come to them. The Armsman saying we kept receiving constant updates regarding flooding, power outages, et cetera, in my area. Even when it got too dangerous, we received notifications stating conditions were too dangerous. And yes, all responders were being pulled to shelter because, at some time, they have to go and protect their own lives. Rabbi saying politicians couldn't capitalize on it. My dogs are going to be barking here because my wife just got home. So I apologize for that. But, I definitely can see why there is a lot of people who are very upset with the response as a whole, because I've never seen anything like that. Like I've been involved with disasters and I've never seen, well, I can't say that. I've seen one. I'm not going to talk about that. But one of the things I would always say is that the government is always the slowest thing to take off. And that's why I would say, people want to blame FEMA. They want to blame the federal government. I would absolutely start off with the local and state jurisdictions. They did not do enough to help these people. And in my opinion, they're still not. And, again, if you know somebody who is out there, let me know. I'd like to hear what they have to say, because obviously it's not going to be universal. It's not going to be everywhere, but there are definitely some places that are still untouched. One of the things that I would say is that, there are places that have no running water. There are places that do have running water, but the water is non-potable, so you can't drink it, you can't bathe in it, you can only, flush crap down the toilet. Um, and you have water plants that are gone, so there is nothing going on with people to have the ability to survive right now. And that's like a frightening thought, right? Like, it's 2024, it's the United States of America. You would think that there would be this national movement or some sort of national mobilization by our government to go in there and get this right. Like, let's get in there, let's throw some rock down, let's restructure roads, let's get the power grid up and running, let's get running water, let's get food to these people, let's get it done. And still, it just doesn't seem to be happening at all. Rabbi is saying probably long time boil alerts in place. One of my friends, K9, he's in the local area there, and he was telling me that they were talking about some places not having water until potentially January. And that's, again, I mean, where are we at, man? Like, how did we allow this to happen? We can't stop Mother Nature, but to have such a pathetic response, and even more so, a pathetic end game to figure out how we were going to help these people, not okay. Not okay. And that's going to bring me up to my next point. So obviously, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have an election, and this is probably where my channel is going to get banned, or at least I'll probably get a strike. But that's okay. It is what it is. But one of the things I'm going to say is that politics is. Let's push politics aside, right? Let's forget about who's a Republican, who's a Democrat. Let's forget about personalities of both, right? Me personally, I am not voting for Kamala Harris. I am not voting for her. I'm going to say that right now. I don't believe in her policies. I don't believe in her. I don't believe in anything she represents. I think she is a continual problem that we've had for 4 years, that they want to continue for another 4 years, potentially 8 years, if she gets the nod. But one of the things I would say to you is that neither candidate, in my opinion, is perfect, right? I mean, Trump's got his laundry list of issues. Kamala has hers. Joe Biden has his. So let's push politics to the side, right? And let's just have a conversation like rational people. So for those of you who are already made up your minds, like myself, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change that, right? So anybody who supports Kamala is going to support her no matter what. Anybody who's going to support Trump, no matter what, is going to support Trump. There's no doubt about that. But then there's the people who are kind of in between or wavering on one side or the other. And here's what I'm going to say to all of you. And you can disagree with it, and you can, spout whatever hatred you want after this. But one of the things I'm going to say to you is, if you've been looking for a sign, if you've been looking for something to sway your judgment and your vote because you're too much of a coward to make up your own mind, all you need to do is look what happened, right? Look at what happened there. And, you can, talk about Israel. You can talk about what's happening in the Ukraine, or now that North Korea is loading soldiers up against the Ukraine army with the Russians. I mean, we can talk about all that too if you want. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about the half-assed response that we've seen. And not just from boots on the ground, but from the politicians in Washington, D.C., the politicians that allegedly work for us. But I'm pretty sure anybody's watching this, and I know that's not the case. They're not working for us. But the fact that there was such a pitiful response, and the level of apathy that I saw from our alleged presidential candidate, was so alarming to me, that if you're out there and you still haven't decided who you're voting for, if that in itself doesn't convince you that this is not the right candidate for you, nothing will. You're, in my opinion, completely lost, because we are a very powerful nation. We're a wealthy nation. But to see people who claim to be our elected officials and our representatives not give two shits about people who are losing their lives. I mean, you listen to some of these stories that are coming out of here still to this day, where they're just finding body after body. But I think when you see the loss of life, and the fact that there was and there's still, and this is what makes me so angry, is there still has not been this really strong resolution of will by our government to help our own people. That's where I'm done. I'm done. Like, I'm done. And so anybody who wants to vote for her, in my opinion, you're not a patriot. You're not an American. You are, in my opinion, you are a traitor. You are someone who does not care about this country or its people. And so, and that goes for any stupid celebrities, athletes, famous people, rich people. I don't care. Like, to me, when your government fails, and it fails miserably, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but thousands of times on different policies, and you're still stupid enough, that's pathetic. So let's read some of the comments here. So Patriot from Warsaw is saying, the problem is we faced as a nation, as a country, is normalized corruption politicians. I used to believe at that point when I was a former Democrat, they used to represent the U.S. Now for Dems, it's about power. And again, that is true, but I would also say it doesn't matter what party they're a part of. It's all of them, every single one of them. Doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. They are all about themselves. You're never going to convince me that people who go in with a savings account of $10,000 retire with a savings account of $10 million and tell me that's legit. You're never going to tell me that. So it doesn't matter who it is, Republican, Democrat. Trump is kind of is kind of an anomaly, right? Because he's a Republican, but he was a Democrat. But honestly, I just think he's himself, and I think that's where we need to push away the personalities, push away the politics, and just say which one of those two candidates. I mean, and said that's all we have to offer, but which one of those two candidates is going to do the best by the people of this country? And I'm sorry, you can't tell me it's Kamala Harris, and you can't tell me it's anything related to Joe Biden's regime. There's nobody in this world who's going to convince me of that. G23 is saying Trump is the better of two evils. He definitely doesn't support the 2A. Again, do I think he supports it more than the other one? Yeah. I think just his judges that he appointed to the Supreme Court, I think helped that a little bit. Again, the Second Amendment can't really be changed by the president. It can only really be changed by the courts, or some sort of constitutional convention, or, some amendment process of the Constitution. And he doesn't control that. So let's see. Rabbi, they don't recognize the representatives. They refer to themselves as leaders, not their job. Stop normalizing that crap. Let's see. Pistol P is saying, I'm voting for Kamala because I'm a black man and Obama said I should. She's black and we need to stick together. Plus, they will be giving us a lot of free shit. And again, I think it's good to see finally that you're seeing the black community starting to wake up a little bit. And now again, is it going to be across the board 100%? No, but you can't say that about any of the communities. But I also think it's good for people to finally realize that the Democratic plantation, maybe those days are coming to an end, which is what I hope for. Armsman is saying it's a shame where politics have divided this country. Even families have come apart all because of the elections. You can't even have a conversation without a conflict. And that is true. That is true. And it's kind of crazy because of the fact that, why can't we just have discourse? Why can't we just have a conversation, right? Like, I'm not asking anybody to believe what I believe. As a matter of fact, I'm just asking people to leave me alone. Pistol saying, or a Patriot saying, Pistol Pete, you vote for Kamala, you might as well vote for a narcissistic, pathological woman, because that's what she is. She has no plan for America's future. And she doesn't, even to this day. I mean, what is her plan? I mean, go to her website. If you don't believe me, go to her website, right? You guys want to sit here. Some of you might watch this at some point and say, oh, you're full of shit, or you're whatever, this or that. But I mean, go to her website and tell me, what are the specific parts of her plan? Like, what is it that she's going to do for us? I mean, I haven't seen anything. AOC is a waste of time. A lot of people saying Kamala's Indian. She's Indian and Jamaican. Yep. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of comments coming. Pistol Pete, how have you been doing? A lot. Obama royally affect this country too. So, again, is it about Obama too? It's about all of them. Like I said, it's about every single politician. You look at and again, one of the things I would say is that, I don't want to say it like every politician, because, Rick DeSantis, I do like him. He's a little extreme at times, but I do like his leadership ability, because I do feel like he is very authoritative when he needs to be. But he also is his agenda. It matches more or less things that I believe in. So, for me, it's not a big deal. For everybody else, they hate him. I just think, like, right now when we talk politics, the sad part is that, when YouTubers do this, they're going to lose their monetization because, YouTube doesn't want to hear anything that's anti-Kamala. But I am anti-Kamala. I'm going to say it. Don't vote for Kamala Harris. Boom. That's it. I'm off the air. Rabbi saying all politicians getting rich off of us, want to stop corruption, stop lobbyists. Well, that's the other thing too, stop it all, right? If you really want to be a public servant, then you have to understand that part of that title is being a servant. Last time I checked, servants shouldn't be getting rich off the backs of everybody else. Let's see. If you look, Obama was at Puff Daddy's parties and was doing sick stuff with him. There are even video proof that came out of it. I have not seen anything like that yet, but I am looking forward to seeing it if it's out there. If Puff Daddy or P Diddy doesn't get iced first. Let's see. That should be the focus, that and term limits. And I agree with the term limits. To not have an establishment of term limits is crazy to me because you have lifetime politicians who never do anything. I mean, shit, look at Chuck Schumer from New York State. I mean, he's one of the worst politicians ever, but he's never going to get unelected from this place. Let's see. Trump is closer to a Reagan style president and he wasn't 2A friendly. That is true. That is true. But again, one of the things I would say to you is that while he may not be 2A friendly, like super friendly, I think just by the appointment of the judges that he did put has helped the 2A more so than ever in the past, in my opinion. Let's see. Oh, I'm sure Bill Clinton was at those parties. I'm sure they all were. Come on. Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about YouTube as a whole, right? You know, obviously one of the things that I would say is that this is a good platform to have these conversations if they allow them to happen, right, and take place. I think what you're seeing is now um, less and less of that ability to do that openly because you know you're getting a lot of people who are getting strikes against their channels. You're getting people who are getting demonetized, and you know, obviously, if there's no money to be made, people will start to splinter and disappear. You know, I think one of the concerns that I have is that if people aren't willing to have these conversations like this, like for example, I mean, some of the people who are in this gun community of ours, they have very huge platforms and they have a lot of reach. And there have been people out there who have been doing, in my opinion, really good work in trying to talk about what occurred and what some of the issues have been. I think it's been, and even smaller channels. Like if you look at some of the videos that came out about the aftermath, especially in Asheville, and everybody's making Asheville a big deal, and it should be a big deal. But again, keep in mind there's other areas of North Carolina that have been devastated, not just Asheville. But I also think the problem is that you know there's just this inability to really push a message if it goes against what YouTube wants. And that's bothersome because, right, like if I'm having this conversation with the 9 of you that are here, one of the things I would say is that there probably will not be much generation from this video, right? And it may just because my channel sucks. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But I also think it's also because this is not going to fit the algorithm, right? As soon as they put in their secret algorithm, whatever it is, and then you know their AI bot goes around and listens to the this video, it's gonna tank the video. There's no doubt about it. And that's a shame, right? Because we shouldn't have to worry about that, right? I'm not saying anything that's controversial in my opinion. I'm just telling you my opinions on things. And some of those opinions are based on fact. People who are there, people who've experienced what's been going on. And I think the Armsman brings up a great point because he's saying here the other issue is there's no accountability. And you're absolutely right. There is no accountability. There's no accountability to anything and to anyone. You know, so we have a horrible horrible response to the storm. Who's being held accountable? Right? Like who got held accountable for this? Nobody. If you got the head of Homeland Defense who's saying, "Oh, there's not enough money to distribute," and then other people saying, "Well, that's not true," and there is some truth to it, some non-truth to it. So you know, I believe what happens is they get $650 up front, and we'll talk about that now. But you get that money up front, and then I believe you can apply for up to I think it's something like $60,000 in disaster relief. Now, in a grand scheme of things, and some of those numbers might be off. So if you guys know the specifics, let us know. But I think some of the things that people have to do is they have to be realistic, right? Like, what is $650 going to do for anybody who's in that condition, right? And I thought it was ridiculous. Like, oh, we're going to give you $650. Well, how are you going to give that to them? Are you going to give them, you know, you know, debit cards or like, what are you going to, how are you going to do that? And more importantly, how are they going to use it? Right? How are they going to get to a store? How are they going to be able to keep their groceries cold because they have no electricity? How are they going to cook anything if they don't have any gas or heat? So it's like they pushed out $650, but what was that going to do? Let's say they gave them $650 to relocate to a hotel. Okay, guess what? Guess what some of those hotels were doing? They were amping up the prices of the rooms. And so now you're talking $650 that might get you 3 nights. But then what do you do after that? And you're going to tell me that you're going to apply for that additional aid? How long do you think that's going to take? So I think from one part they were saying, "Oh, well, we're giving all this money." But the reality is, well, okay, you're giving all that money, but what the fuck is that money doing? Nothing. It's not doing it for anybody because there's no access to anything and there's no way to get goods to people that are isolated. So the response really to say to them, oh, we're going to give you some money to help offset the damages. It really should have been, we're going to get 4,000 helicopters dropping shit all over the place. We're going to get the Army Corps of Engineers. We're going to get as many linesmen as we can. We're going to get as many structural engineers we can, bridge design, whatever you need. You're going to get them in there immediately. And I think sometimes, again, we got to base this on reality too, right? So you're going to bring all those people in, but then you also have to think the logistics behind that, right? So you're going to have all these people arrive, but then you have to feed them. You have to bathe them. You have to give them a place to shit and piss. You're going to have to give them clean drinking water, shelter. So, I mean, all of these things that are included logistically in this, it becomes a nightmare, especially when you have no leadership. And to me, that is the bottom line of it all, right? That there's no accountability anymore. And the people we call leaders are anything but. Let's see. Oh, thanks, G23. He says, I have a great channel. Yeah, it's all right. It's not that great. It's okay. Let's see. Patriot is saying the gun community itself is a self-eating snake while fighting a fox. That's a good point. I like the way you put that. It's a toxic community. We always fight amongst ourselves and our own interests rather than fight the main issues with politicians. And, I think at the end of the day, there's truth behind that because obviously, if there was no money to be made making gun content, people wouldn't do it. And that's the reality of it. Let's see. EFT transfer, and it was a loan. Even Madam VP stated that. Right. Right. Trexter, how do live streams hurt the channel? Live streams hurt the channels because there really is no, well, I guess, I mean, I can't say that for anybody. Like maybe I'll use my channel. Like when I put up a live stream, I might get like 300 views, right? So it doesn't really generate enough interest in it. And that's probably why. So it kind of hurts, the algorithm, which, again, to be honest with you, I haven't been making any new content anyway. Like one of the things I've been doing for this channel is just doing shorts, which is kind of weird because the shorts are generating more interest in this channel than any of the videos I ever made, which is kind of crazy to me, but I guess that's the attention span of the world right now. So, just to kind of give you an idea, and this is definitely off topic, but it's an interesting topic because I've been looking at it. I posted a couple of shorts in the past couple of days, and I'll tell you exactly how they did because, I don't really care what difference does it make if you guys know what all this is. But like I did one 2 days ago, and that has almost 3,000 views, and it's 31 seconds long. So, I mean, what does that do monetarily? And this is the one thing that people don't ever want to talk about is how much money their channels make. Me, I don't make shit. I make about I'd say about $140 on a good month, and that's like that, I can buy maybe 4 or 5 boxes of ammunition with that, which listen, helps. But like, I have another video. This was the Icarus Precision video. Let's look at the analytics of it. And this one's kind of interesting. So let me see how much money I made on this video. I don't even know how to do it. Let's go to there. Okay. So I made on the P365 Fuse video, I made a whopping, get a load of this, guys, $6.22. Boom. That's right. Raking in the dough. So $6. That's what I made for almost 3,000 views. And, and again, the reason why I've been doing the shorts is because it's actually helping my total subscription rate. So my subscribers are going up, the view time is going up, and it's all because of shorts. And so rabbis call me a sellout. No, you know what is, I'm not a sellout, you son of a bitch. And I'm going to tell you why, because I'm not sitting here saying, oh, please, please, please. I'm doing what I can do because I'll be honest with you, I don't have any money to buy guns anymore. So I'm just going to like recycle my old shit and push it as shorts. And if people want to watch the other stuff, they can. I don't really care. Let's see. Trex are saying the aid was a meaningless gesture. That money doesn't do shit. I would agree with you on that, sir. Not at that point. They need food. They need resources, man, and resources that are tangible, like food, blankets, clothing, water, toilets, shelter. All those things should have been down there within maybe 5 days. They should have been, and they weren't. Let's see. They do all the stolen taxes. That's for sure. Um, Rabbi saying, "Yeah, you've been absent. Have you heard from Baldwin Curious? His last vid looked like he was living on a boxcar." I don't really, I don't really talk to him. He's funny because he lives like I don't know where he lives now, but he used to live like about an hour away from me. But yeah, I know he's living. It looked like he was living in a shed actually. So I know he's having a rough time, man. I think the divorce kind of hurt him. So, and I feel bad for him, man. That sucks. Be down on your luck like that, but yeah, he's a good spirit about it. Seems so. He'll bounce back. Let's see. Armsman is saying, I've been told by tubers that YouTube pushes the shorts more than long form videos, and I think that's true. I mean, it's kind of stupid. Like I did a chat like a couple weeks ago where we were talking about it, and I was saying like people are just doing that, and they have no videos, no long format videos at all, and they have like fucking 2 million subscribers. So I'm like over 30-second shorts, and it's sad, man, because like I like talking guns, man. I really enjoy talking guns, but it just seems like that's the new thing. So whatever, we'll ride that wave. And like I said, I mean, you guys know me. I'm making hand over fist on that. Fucking $6, boy. I'm killing it right now. Let's see. Pistol P is saying they have a short attention span. Yep, they do. And I don't you know what I don't like? I don't like the shorts that are just stupid, right? Like my stuff, it's the video, right? Just with a little background music, and that's it. Let's see. Patriots saying move to Rumble. It's a dead platform. It's a waste of time. It really is. There's no other platform. There just isn't. Um, you know, it sucks, but that's the reality. Let's see. Rabbi, listen, stop picking on Baldy, man. All right, poor guy. So, I do think like at the end of the day, one of the things that I'm proudest of watching, with all this disaster and stuff like that is I'm really just proud to see how people once again recapture what is the American spirit, right? And I think what needs to be said, and it really should be said more, is that there really was this push away from this thing called American exceptionalism, right? The fact that this country is exceptional for so many different reasons, right? And we can sit here historically and debate all the horrible things that America has done because there have been. I mean, we could debate it, but the reality is, yes, America has done some terrible things. There's no doubt about it. But I would also say that the thing that has made this country so exceptional over the history of our nation is the fact that we've been able to make corrections and course corrections, sometimes minor and sometimes magnificent. And so, like when you see the disaster that comes out of there, and you see the struggle and the death and the emotions of the people there, it is always something to remember, and it is always something to look at when you see how people rally to help their fellow mankind. And that is something, in my opinion, that you'll never take away from us. And it doesn't matter what government, doesn't matter what politician, what political group or structure. That is something you cannot get rid of in this country, because that's what makes us exceptional as a people. Let's see. BCG cleaning is my favorite ASMR content. Great. Pistol Pete saying he's never even shot a Glock. He needs a Glock based on the comment before. G23, my question is, can anyone name a country that hasn't done something stupid to their people? No, because it's every frigging country in the world. It's, every country, kingdom, civilization, they have always hurt their people, So now everybody with the racist comments, or slightly racist. I don't know. Are they racist? I don't really know. I'm hoping they're not. So, at the end of the day, like I said, whatever happens to this video, if they decide to strike it, good. If they decide to demonetize it, don't care. I just think, the conversation has to happen, right? And I think with that election coming here, and the more you just watch it, it's like, my God, like, I'll be honest with you. How many of you who are watching this right now, how many of you can tell me if you know somebody who's voting for Kamala? That's what I want to know. Tell me in the comments right now. Let's go. All right. So nobody wants to say that. So Rabbi with the TV shows. Yeah, I definitely think yes, they're trying to buy votes, but I also think people are waking up. I think people are finally saying, you know what, it's time. It's time to wake up. It's time to take our own destiny in our hands, because the prior politicians who run that D around, their name as a Democrat, have done nothing. They've done nothing. Nothing. G23 is saying my cousin and her husband will definitely vote for Hamilton. The Armsman saying, "I do. Hell, my daughter thinks she's the best." Oh boy, he kicked her out. Yeah, I mean, I would say my parents will. I know that for a fact. Every time I go there, we cannot talk politics in my parents' house. We can't because my dad and I wind up fighting. And I'm trying to explain to him, like, Dad, it's like that Democratic Party that you thought existed, it never did. First off, but it's certainly not doing anything for you now. um, let's see, 1776. You got Steam on your computer? I thought I heard the program alert. I don't even know what the hell Steam is. So I'm going to say no. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I don't even know what that is. But yeah, it's kind of sucky too. Like even my brother actually lives in Australia, and when he comes here to visit, we talk politics sometimes. It always goes bad. And he's living in a different country now, so he thinks that that country is the best in the world, and I have to explain to him, no, it's not. But that doesn't that doesn't really pan with him either. My other brother's different. He'll vote for Trump, you know. But that's how it is, right? And it is a shame, right? Like you can't even go and have a family dinner during Thanksgiving. And one of the running jokes I have now when I go see my parents is we'll be eating dinner, and I'll say, "So, how about that guy Trump?" you know, and then everybody drops their forks, and I'm like, "I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding." So, yeah. What's up, Snowman? So Snowman has joined us. He lives in the good old South. So, Snowman, just catch up on speed. Basically, I have ended my channel's lifespan because I've been talking a lot of crap about the government, and talking about the poor response and the lack of responses and the fact that there was no real game plan. So I'm pretty sure this will get wiped out at some point. Says Rabbi, he liked being arrested for jogging during lockdowns. It pressed me harder, Daddy. God. Oh my God. Reliable Democrats are will push Kamala over the top. Yeah, and that's obviously we've got to worry about the early voting too, right? So they're already talking that Dominion has some votes that are changing, and obviously the major media outlets are all saying, "Oh, here we go again, blah 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 blah." Like I don't understand how hard it is to just have a friggin' election, right? Even if it's computerized, there's got to be some overwatch on this, and even now, like people will always say, "Well, why do we have to have IDs to vote?" It's like, well, we should have IDs to vote, right? Wouldn't that make sense? Right? If I got to have an ID to drive a car, if I have to have an ID to own a gun, if I have to have an ID to go to the doctor's office, if I have to have an ID to go to work, I mean, shit, I should have an ID to go vote. Let's see. Well, when you are in the upstate again, you need to hit me up. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm gonna try to get down there. I don't know if it's gonna happen. It might just be like for like 12 hours, literally, but maybe next weekend. But I'm gonna fly in, watch my kid play, and then fly out if he plays. We don't know yet. But then I'll be down there. Actually, I'll be down there in 2 weeks for that long weekend, potentially for his open house or whatever it is, parent weekend. So we could probably hook up then, go for dinner. Let's meet up in Greenville if that's close to you, which I think it is. Let's see, Cali band ID for voting. Remember when hanging chads were all we had to worry about? I know. I remember that, man. The hanging chad. Yeah. It's crazy how things have kind of evolved into a bigger shitstorm, I was talking to a friend today and we were talking about the election, and there are some concerns, right? So you had the video dropped by the armed scholar saying that they've changed the rules of how the federal government can intervene. Um, I forget what it's called, posse comitatus or some shit like that. But now the federal government apparently can take over and shoot people, which is kind of scary. 20 minutes. All right. Yep. So check your chat with me. We'll try to hook up. They got a good restaurant in Greenville that I like going to. It's an Italian restaurant, but I always forget what the hell it's called. It's like a brick oven pizza restaurant, but they have great Italian food. At least I like it. Let's see. Pistol P is saying social media has destroyed this country. Yes, I realize I'm currently on a YouTube live stream. Yes, that is true. Social media has definitely interfered with a lot of things, especially for false information. It's easy to get out there. It's easy to get around. And then obviously it goes viral and then takes over. So it's kind of shitty. But it also can be a very powerful tool when it's, when it's running right. Free breadsticks, you get actually nice, good bread there, man. Really good bread. Wait, Rabbi, where are you at? Where are you at? That's what I want to know. Yes, Greenville, South Carolina. Are you there, G23? Sushi? I will not eat sushi. I will not eat any seafood, man. I'm a land mammal eater only. I just can't do seafood unless it's freshly caught. It's weird, I know. G23, where are you at? Where are you from? Oh, Rabbi's not far from Greenville. Oh shit, we should all meet up. Let's have a meetup. You want to do that? I'll give everybody my autograph because it's worthless, but that'd be cool. I would like to do that. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of that restaurant was in Greenville. I'm gonna look it up. Let's see what Google tells me. Brick Oven Pizza in Greenville. Trio. That's it. Trio. It's a brick oven cafe. I like that place. It's a good place to eat. So let's see. Okay, so now you're out in Oregon, huh? What the hell brought you out to Oregon? Ugh. Not for me. I couldn't live out there. Too depressing. Too much rain. Gotcha. Yeah, it seems like everything's a lot freer down there, which I think is great. Definitely not up here. That's for fucking sure. All right, so let's see, I don't know, what time is it? I got like 12 more minutes, so I'll take questions. We can talk about guns for a little bit. I actually, one of the things that is kind of funny is that, it just seems like more and more, like with YouTube, it just seems like a lot of people reviewing guns nowadays are they're not even reviewing them anymore. They're just talking about them. In other words, they're just advertising. And that's kind of disappointing too. I mean, just recently, I saw a ton of videos on the Canics, the new Canics that came out, which by the way, look great. I like the MC9 SL, or LS or whatever it is. I like the long slide with the longer grip. It reminds me a lot of the SIG Fuse, which by the way, that SIG Fuse is my favorite gun right now. Still to this, it's just a great gun. I love it. So the Arms and Right Away is jumping on the CC9. I mean, to me, that gun looks stupid. Like it just looks shitty. I mean, why? Like, I don't know. What does it really do? Like, what do I need that? Rabbi saying he likes the CC9. Well, let me ask you a question. If that CC9 had the word Taurus on it, would you like it as much? Because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a friggin' Taurus. And I got nothing from that gun. Like there's nothing about that gun that would make me replace a 365. I think the 365 is a better gun. The MC9 LS. I do like that gun a lot. I do like that gun. And then Rabbi saying it says HK on it. That's all it needs to do. Yeah. And that's the truth. Yeah. Right. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think I said like 2 years ago, the wave of the future are thin guns. And now I think you're seeing it come to fruition. I think we had the 2011 run, which is still going on slightly, I think. But I think the 2011 run is going to be over soon. And you're going to see the rise of the slim line guns. And I'm excited about that because I like them much better than full size guns right now. And the reason why I say that is because they're easier to carry. They shoot just as well. The capacity that some of these guns are getting, for those of you living in freedom, is like 1 million times better than what they used to be. And so, like, when I look at some of the older slim carry guns versus the newer ones, these are no brainers. Like, I got my SIG right here next to me, and I love this gun. It feels great, shoots great, has every, in my opinion, bell and whistle that you'd want right out of the box, and it carries really well. And I'm going to do a shameless plug here, really quick. I can't show you the gun, but if you guys need a good holster for it, this is my holster right here. This comes from yours truly, the Armsman, and this thing is great, by the way. Love it. I have one for the Smith also. Fantastic stuff. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the holster. So let's see. So man is saying you can't decide between the P320 AXG Legion or the 226 X5 Legion for my next gun. I mean, I won LO Division Tuesday night with my 320 Max and beat up some 2011s. That's great. Good for you, man. Congrats. So actually, I was at a gun store today. I actually saw a bunch of Legions. They had a ton of them, but then I saw the price tag and said, nope, can't touch those. But I love that. I love that 365 Legion, man. I fucking love that thing. But I also saw a 226 Legion. I saw the X5, which was, that thing was beautiful. If I could afford that gun, that would be a gun I'd buy. I also saw, what else did they have? They had a 226 with some ports or comped. It was, I don't know, whatever. I think it was comped. That was really nice. They had a nice 226 Legion, which was really nice. They also had a 226, which I thought was interesting. They had a 226, P226. Well, no, actually, it was a 220. They had a P220 that was optic capable. And that I've never seen before. I was like, that's pretty badass because the 220 is one of my favorite 45s of all times. That's a great gun. Rabbi saying he still carries his Walther PPS M2. That's sad. That's just freaking sad. That's good. It's a nice gun, but there's so many better options. And I hope you're kidding. X5 Legion, the X10 is what I want too. Yeah, I'm telling you, some of those gun sticks putting out, man, are beautiful. Armsman says, "Do your slide on the fuse get really hot after about 75 rounds?" It actually does not. One of the things that I noticed on it was the trigger guard, right on the bottom of the frame. If this makes sense, put your finger in the trigger guard. The top part of the trigger guard that gets hot, but the slide does not. Not anything unusual for me, at least nothing that I found. And I would say it doesn't get uncomfortably hot. It gets kind of like medium warm. So that's the only time I've ever seen like a heat spot on the fuse. Rabbi, take care of yourself, man. Yep. And kind of interesting. Like, I was carrying the shield for a while, but man, I just like the fuse, and I'm gonna do a video on those too. It'll be a long video, and then I'll do like 4,000 shorts, and they'll get like 10,000 views, and the long form will get like 120. But I'm going to do a comparison because I do think both are great offerings for the slimline market. I think the new comp carry Smith, which for some reason, there's been some videos out there that are giving that gun a lot of shit, saying that it doesn't really do anything and this and that. I mean, one of the things I notice is it like super like, oh my God, it's so flat, this gun? No, but I also do think it does make a slight difference. Nothing major, but a little bit of a difference. Let's see. Pistol saying he carries a P07. Nothing new really interests me. And that's the thing too. Like I went today and I was looking around, and I mean, I saw a lot of nice, pretty things, but nothing that I was like, wow, I got to have that gun. The only thing that I really liked that I saw today, because I had not seen one, and I hadn't handled it, was the AXG Legion, the 365 model. I really like that. That's a nice looking firearm. And it's like I said, the thing about the gun is that it's technically a full size gun with a slim profile. So I like that. Oh, and I also, one gun that I absolutely love, which, again, is completely out of my reach, is the it's the Kimber, that Kimber, whatever, BS9C or whatever it is. It's like a double stack 1911, has no grip safety on it. That gun was awesome. Like, I was playing around with that a little bit today, man. What a nice trigger on it. It just ergonomically, it's pretty good. It's a little chunky, right? Because it is double stack. But I think overall, that is a gun that I would love to own. That's a beautiful gun. And I honestly, if I had the money and I could definitely buy what I wanted, it would totally be the Platypus. Not because it's got the Platypus name, but one of the things I'm going to say is, man, I love the fact it takes Glock mags. I'm saying the AHG Legion is the best 365. Yeah, I mean, it looks nice, man. And I tell you, man, I love the fuse. Like to me, I think they're going to be, if they were smart, they would release like an AXG fuse. Because I think that'd be a big seller. It'd be a really big seller. And I mean, I guess you could make it as long as you get the lower and you just throw the slide on there, right? So we'll see. My friends over at Icarus Precision, I was talking to them the other day. There's some maybe a possibility that I might get their new lower for the 365s. So I'm kind of hoping they'll send it to me because I'd be really excited to kind of get a good feel of that. And that's their new AXG lower that has the inserts for the grip panels. So that's like it looks badass, and so I'm hoping they'll send me one. We'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Never know. Let's see. An AXG Fuse Legion with ports. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I mean, you've got enough slide length on here to throw some ports on this thing. So, or to make it a comped version, which I mean, you could do it yourself, right? You could do it aftermarket. The only thing is that, if you're going to do that, unfortunately, the sight would be in the front of them. And I don't think you'd want that. I think you'd want it behind them. So that's the only thing that's a bummer. But I mean, overall, the HG, the Fuse has been really one of my favorite SIGs for a while. And then honestly, to be honest with you, if you guys have experience handling 1911s, it does have a kind of a 1911-ish feel in the hand because it's not super thick. I mean, it's kind of like I would say like it's like a stack and a half. So it's not really a double stack, but it is pretty cool to have that kind of capacity in such a slim gun. And I love it. I just love it. It's become my favorite gun. Let's see. So you guys can ask any questions you want. We're about to end the stream here in about 3 minutes, but I do appreciate anybody and everybody who shows up either now or later. Again, one of the things I would always say is if you don't mind, spread the word of the channel. I get a lot of views still, which is good. Unfortunately, the majority is people who don't subscribe. So I just need people to subscribe, right? Like I still think this channel has value, damn it. Maybe not much value, but it's at least worth 50 cents, right? But yeah, if you guys don't mind, spread the word. That can always be a part of the deal. And yes, sights can be moved when machining the slide. That's absolutely true. It just costs a little extra money. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. Oh, it says Rabbi says I'm back and piss on you. The PPS M2 is a better shooter for me than my P365, 43 or 43X. Okay, listen, you don't have to take it so personally. I mean, the PPS trigger sucks. I mean, you can't tell me it's a good trigger. It's not. It's not a good trigger. Rabbi saying his best carry is a staccato, but it is heavy. Yep, understandably so. And that's why, I don't carry anything that heavy. I carry light guns because I'm a sissy. But also, one of the things I did with the Fuse is I threw a bunch of Tyrant CNC stuff on it, and it really has become one of like my favorite customized type of firearms. I mean, it's just little things here and there, but I just think the functionality of the gun is great. One of the things that I also say is like I've really moved away from a lot of the thicker double stacked guns, which is I never thought I would do that. But I even my MR920, I'm not really even carrying that anymore. I'm actually carrying more of my Bull Armory because it's a little bit thinner, feels a little bit thinner, a little bit more ergonomic than the MR920. MR920 is a great gun, but and that Bull Armory that I have is pretty freaking good too. Armson is saying he can't even post on Facebook or Instagram, et cetera, without getting against Polynose. Yeah, I know. Like that's the new thing too with them is that anybody who's trying to, like, I guess, show off something or a product, now they're banning you if it's gun related. What a surprise, right? But you can show products about drugs and mouthing off to the cops or some of the other things like going up to people and embarrassing them and humiliating them in public areas, like that's totally fine. But if you want to show a product that relates to gun related stuff, nope, we can't do that. I'm telling you, man, it's the world we're living in. Totally screwed up and backwards. Rabbi saying he's probably going to get the CC9 after a year. Let the kinks get worked out. Yes, I know HK doesn't have kinks, but still waiting. I mean, I think the only thing I didn't like about it is I didn't like the way the grip looked. Again, it could be just me, right? Like I haven't seen the gun in person, but it just doesn't look that good. It doesn't look that appealing to me. And it looks a little cheap. Like, I guess that's what I would say, right? Like when you look at let's say a P2000, right? Let's look at one of my favorite HKs, right? that gun just looks good, right? Even though it's ancient in regards to like modern aesthetics, that gun still looks freaking good and it looks like a fucking tank, because it's built like one. But then when you look at that gun, it's like this little itty bitty gun. And I'm like, nah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It just doesn't look that good. Let's see. Makeup tutorials for toddlers. Yes, that is also acceptable. The CR920 XP. Yeah, that's a nice gun. I do like that one. I do like that gun quite a bit, actually. I actually reached out to them, and guess what? They didn't reach back out to me. Let's see. Rabbi likes the adjustable backstrap because he has large palms. Large palms. Oof, rough guy. All right, everyone. So SFP 9cc. All right, I want to look this one up. I'm going to look this one up because I don't know what that is. HK SFP 9cc. Let's see what the hell that is. Image. Ooh, that's not real. Is that real? Huh. Oh yeah. I like the way this gun looks better. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, it's actually really nice. It reminds me a little bit like a PO7 almost, just a little bit nicer. So yeah, it's definitely nicer. It looks a little bit square, more square, if that's a word. I mean, it's similar to it. It looks like the gun, but it really resembles the VP9, like a lot like the VP9, just a lot smaller and slimmer. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And if I could read German to you, I would tell you what it says, but I can't read German. Darn it. Yeah, the SF, whatever the hell it says, SFP 9cc. Yeah, that's an interesting looking gun. And it resembles basically a very miniature sized VP9, like super skinny and smaller. Definitely smaller than the SK, which I never liked the SK. I'm not a big fan of the SK. All right, everybody. So here we are. There's 11 people of you here now. So wow. Now that I'm about to close things down, people are showing up. Wow, what a surprise. If there was a gun that I was looking at right now to get, I mean, there's really nothing. I mean, I keep trying to hit up companies all the time, and I don't blame them for not sending me stuff. I just think, I don't really have that kind of reach. And it's kind of a shitty thing because I still think New York has a great market if the people would just take their time and invest in it. But unfortunately, it never seems to, work out that way. But I mean, I've hit up a bunch of companies, man, and it's always funny the conversations because they're kind of sometimes they're really cool about it, and then sometimes they're like really dicks about it. And I don't understand why. I'm not like rude or anything. I just say, hey, this is my channel, and this is where it's based out of, and blah 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 blah. And it's usually, oh, that's great, bye, or yeah, no thanks, you're not big enough. As a matter of fact, one company which I was really disappointed in, and I'm not going to say who it is, but it's not like they're watching this shit anyway. But um, they put out a bunch of guns, right? And I'll tell you the story because it really bugged the shit out of me. But I had gotten a gun from them, and I did a video on it, and it did horribly. It just tanked. And so when I was talking to him initially, I was like, well, I'll review this gun, but I don't think it's going to get a lot of feedback because it's not what people want, right? People don't want another basic, and as basic as you can get, striker fired polymer handgun. And I knew it was going to do shitty because it's just that was not the hot commodity at that point. A lot of people were doing like 1911s, 2011s, guns like that. And so when I did it, I knew it was going to suck. And then I bought both guns and did another video, and that one did a little bit better. And and the reason being is because it had more options to it, right? It had optic capability, so there was more features to it that more gun owners want. So I wasn't surprised. And then, of course, we had some more conversations. I asked and inquired about another gun that they had just released that was awesome. And I was basically told to pack sand because I didn't get enough market viewership, which, again, I understand that from the marketing perspective. But at the same time, I know for a fact they were giving guns to people out there to do reviews on, and those reviews were blowing up. And it wasn't because the channel was so great. It was just that was because that was what the market was commanding at the time. And that's what I tried to explain to them initially. And they kind of blew it off. So I was like, okay, no problem. Yeah. And then that is true, Rabbi. Like a lot of times, I can't get guns. But I would always say to you too, like some of these guns I can get, because some of these magazines I have already, and they're all 10, 10 round mags, but it just never seems to work out. And that's okay too, right? Because then I don't have to worry about me selling my soul. Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants to deal with New York, and I don't blame them. There's just too many things, but there's also some misunderstandings, right? Like there are some people who say, "Well, I can't ship you ammo directly to your house." Well, actually, you can. You actually can ship ammo directly to your house in New York State. That was something that was initially talked about that you couldn't do, and then it changed. So that was one thing people, didn't realize, and that is true. But it is what it is, and it's okay. I'll keep on pushing forward. So it is now 9:06. I'm going to part ways with all of you tonight. I appreciate everybody for stopping in on this lovely Saturday. By the way, it was absolutely beautiful today in New York. I wish it would stay like this all winter, to be honest with you. The hell with global warming. We'll bring it. But I do appreciate everybody stopping in and watching. And like I said, if you watch the video later, leave some comments down below. Obviously, if you guys give a thumbs up, that would help also. And of course, spread the word about the channel. Enjoy the shorts, enjoy the long form video. The next video I'll be doing will be on the Smith & Wesson Shield versus the 365 Fuse, just talking about the differences between them and also some of the similarities. But more importantly, which do I prefer? I think it's pretty obvious from what I said tonight. But one of the things I would always say is, you gotta have to make that decision on your own. So that'll be the next one I do. And hopefully I'll do well. And if not, that's okay too, because then I'll make some shorts and those will do much better. But I hope you guys are having a great night. Hope all of you are doing okay. For those of you down south who were affected by the storm, just know that we're all thinking of you and we're hoping that everything gets better sooner rather than later. And like I said, be vigilant. Make sure you vote. Please vote, because if you don't, we're going to be stuck. So please vote, and you got to vote your conscience. So everybody have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, everyone, freedom is never free.